TC number 441, 5 seconds. Start. So, I rise to make a statement on the recent visit of the Foreign Secretary to the USA and other related issues which have been raised during 0 hour in the past few days. The Foreign Secretary visited Washington March 9 to 11 for talks on matters of mutual interest. Indo-US consultations at the Foreign Secretaries level are a regular feature in our bilateral relations and generally cover the whole gamut of Indo-US ties. Honorable members have in the past few days raised a number of pertinent issues relating to Indo-US relations. I would now like to address some of them specifically. Honorable members made reference to the so-called Pentagon paper extracts which appeared in the US press on March 8, 1992. The paper is actually a draft which outlines USA's perceptions and strategies in relation to the entire world. The report is not a specific position paper on India or Pakistan. The Foreign Secretary was instructed to immediately take up the negative references to India in his meetings with the Deputy Secretary and the Under Secretary of Defense. The Foreign Secretary conveyed a serious concern on the above. He was informed that this document was draft paper prepared by middle-level Pentagon officials and would be subject to review and modification. India's concerns have been noted by the US and modifications would be made to take them into account. The Foreign Secretary was categorically told that there was no perception at US policy making levels which reflected the negative references to India contained in the Pentagon paper. Officials of both the State Department and the National Security Council with whom the Foreign Secretary raised India's concerns informed him that the paper does not reflect the position of the US on various issues dealt with and that it is subject to further review. On the reported Pentagon advocacy for a continued substantial US military relationship with Pakistan, the Foreign Secretary strongly conveyed our views that while it was a bilateral matter between the United States and Pakistan, this would naturally have consequences in terms of Indian assessments and policy orientation. I would now like to take up the issue of India's position regarding the Non-Proliferation Treaty. There have been some misleading reports that have appeared in the press that India would sign the NPT. I would like to make a clear distinction between India's position on the NPT and her position in nuclear non-proliferation. India has always been against the proliferation of nuclear weapons and her record in this regard is second to none. Speaking at the Security Council on January 31st, 1992, the Prime Minister had set out India's views in this regard. He recalled the action plan for disarmament put forward at the third special session on disarmament in 1988 by the late Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, which sought to eliminate all weapons of mass destruction in stages, eventually leading to a nuclear weapon free and non violent world. The Prime Minister, in fact, at the meeting which I have mentioned, advocated advancing this time frame to the year 2000. The House is aware that on the issue of signing the NPT, India has been under pressure for several years past, including pressure from the erstwhile Soviet Union. We have consistently taken a principled stand to the effect that while the treaty is discriminatory, what is needed is total and complete nuclear disarmament brought about by balanced, simultaneous, comprehensive, and time bound measures on the lines advocated by India's action plan presented at the third special session of the UN on disarmament in 1988. The copies of this plan, sir, are available in the Parliament Library. As the House is aware, at that point of time, it was also laid on the table. The Prime Minister has elaborated India's stand on all occasions when the matter was raised, both in multilateral meetings and bilateral talks. Honorable members had also referred to the five power conference proposal put forward by the United States to discuss security issues, including nuclear non proliferation in South Asia. During his meeting with President Bush in New York on January 31st, 1992, the Prime Minister detailed government's position on this. The Prime Minister told President Bush that India was concerned about uncontrolled proliferation of nuclear weapons and did not see how this new phenomenon could be stopped merely by measures of policing. Proliferation had taken on a global dimension and required a global approach. India was prepared to talk to the US on non proliferation, but given the practical situation and ground realities, India had to consider on how to deal with the problem. This reality could hardly be dealt with in a meeting of five states. In Washington, the Foreign Secretary reiterated India's stand in regard to talking bilaterally with the US.